No, I've been away, but I have been working. I haven't just been slacking off. But I've missed you all. I've missed all the chatsters and missed being on. And it's good to be back today. Just a few things to report from the work I've been doing over the last little while. Quick museum report. We had a chap and his family in during the week from Queensland, who's recently come back to the Lord. And I'm sorry, he may well be watching today. I know he watches the show. But has recently come back to the Lord. It was a nice testimony to hear, and has been following the Creation Research, Creation Conversations and YouTube channel, and specifically came to Tasmania for a holiday, but also really wanted to see the museum. And his parents came across from Victoria as well to catch up and meet at the museum, and they spent a good period of time in there, and we had a great chat. I'm sorry I forgotten the names at the moment, but it was great to have them over and just showing the interlinkages of the museums. And I'd heard John speak at, I think it was Albany Creek Church in Brisbane there, so that was really great. But we've been away. We went to Darwin, and I know that was mentioned on the show for the National Tourism Awards. We didn't win that, but we had a great time there. Some other good attractions were down to win that. While we were up in Darwin in the Northern Territory, we went and visited a few places. One of them was Crocodiles Park in Darwin to look at the saltwater crocodiles, which is, I believe, the biggest croc in the world. Sorry, I'll just click on that. There we go. Is that moving through? There we go. The saltwater croc gets up to around 6 meters. This guy was over 5 meters, which in the American measurements over 15 feet. So a big croc. There's other crocs on display that they had there as well. There's a Cuban crocodile, for example. But there's one that caught my eye, which is this Orinoco crocodile, which is called Crocodilus intermedius. And if you look at the sign there, the species name is intermedius. It means intermediate, which refers to the narrow snout, intermediate between the shape of, like a saltwater crocodile, and a gharial. So I've got 3 of those in line here just to give you a picture. So the top one is a gharial fossil that we've got at the museum, then the Orinoco crocodile, the intermediate one, and then the saltwater crocodile. Now, I have noticed that some of the chatsters have sort of made the statements that we're sort of pushing evolution when we're saying that some of these variations between a created kind are real, but we're not. We're really promoting devolution, that there are real things called genetic mutations. There are variations within a kind. That's just part of God's creation in the fallen world, and part of his creative genius, I think, too, is that there are variations. And this shows that there's a link within the crocodiles, but the crocodile is a created kind. They'll always remain crocodiles. They won't become something else. And this is just showing that there can be a few steps in the mutations, maybe in the growth genes around the snout or something. But yeah, there's something I found interesting in the trip. Now, another thing that I've been doing, I went to Hobart one day and picked up this magnificent azurite crystal, very valuable. I bought it off a creation geologist down there. I'll introduce you to him in a minute. But this one, the bottom disc, it looks almost like it's been coloured or painted, but it's not. That's the natural colours. And that one's over 11 centimetres in diameter. So that's about 4.5 inches in diameter. So a beautiful crystal. And this is Dean and his wife, Maureen McLaughlin. Dean is a very good geologist, but he's also a creationist. And so it's great to be able to get some crystals off there. You can see some crocodile crystals, which are the gem emblem of Tasmania. I think Tasmania is the best place in the world you can get crocodile. And Dean sells gems. He actually goes, Glenn, to the Arizona. What was the gem fair?
Oh, yeah, the Arizona Tucson Fossil and Gem
Tucson.
Show.
Yeah, so he has displayed many times in the past over there, and he's written about these azurite crystals in scientific journals. Here's a copy of it, or Geology Reviews, where basically not all the other guys there are necessarily creationists, but he's written a scientific paper about how these crystals form, and the paper has come up basically with the conclusion that they form quickly under catastrophic type circumstances. So, just a quote that he's given to me is that field evidence suggests the azurite was formed over a short time period as part of a dynamic geological event. And in Dean's summation, he believes it's towards the end of the flood period, and that there was major earthquakes in a collapsing sedimentary basin. And this is over a huge area in the central part of Australia, in the Northern Territory area. And then there was massive disturbance as a result of sedimentary layers. There's high pressure water, which contains copper that's injected into these sediments. And it's low sulfur. So the azurite is low sulfur. If you've got more sulfur in the mix, you get more like malachite, which is a much greener gem. And and copper mixes with carbonates, and it mixes to form azurite. So there's a great addition to the museum, and it's another evidence of fast processes in geology, and that's why we've added it. Another trip that I've done while I've been away is I went and met Richard and Glenda. Glenda actually came into our museum and said, "Oh, we got fossils on our place." So while I was down there, I went and visited them, and here we are in a cutting where they built their house. So they've done a big cutting to build a house on their new property, and you can see where Richard is halfway up. There was this black mass there, so we investigated that. He thinks it's charcoal. We've pulled it out. John can confirm one way or other, but it was certainly marking, smudging our hands like carbonaceous material, which is slightly different, I believe. So carbonaceous material is marking the hands. There's the picture of it. So it's in the middle of this cutting, and above it and below it is jam-packed with marine creatures. So we've got carbonaceous material, and there's quite a bit of it throughout the site, mixed up with sea creatures. So there's a bit of an example of us digging it out, and we've grabbed a bit of it for the museum.